Have you ever had a great idea, but when it came time to explain it, sell it, pitch it, or just communicate it, it didn't come out the way that you intended? Or maybe you know exactly what you're trying to say. Yeah, okay. But it never seems to come out the way that you had hoped. In human design, this may have less to do with your communication skills and more to do with today's topic, the throat center.
Welcome to Frequency of Self, your go-to resource for the practical application of human design in life, business, and relationships. If you're ready to experience lasting transformation, hit subscribe.
In our last video, we explored the pressure centers, the head and the root, and how pressure affects our relationship with our career, business, or money. Today, we're moving into the throat center, the center of timing, expression, and manifestation. We're going to explore the throat center mechanics and how definition or not may have more to do with how you express than your communication skills alone. Then we'll look at how this shows up in your career, your business, or your relationship with money, before finishing out with some practical somatic exercises to help you get more in tune and aligned with your throat center for your timing, manifestation, and communication. Part 1, the throat center. We have established that the throat center is the center of timing, communication, and manifestation. But what does that actually mean? How does that actually work? The throat center is the external expression of what's happening on the inside. Everything in the chart is moving upward towards the throat center or moving down towards the throat center. And this is where the expression to the external world happens, where everything happening within the rest of the chart is translated into words, action, and tangible expression. The consistency of that expression has a lot to do with whether you have definition or not. A defined throat has consistent communication style, a consistent way of accessing that throat energy when the strategy and authority say it is time to express, time to manifest. The expression feels reliable, that it's going to come through the way that is intended. The undefined or open throat center is going to have inconsistent access to the expression and may not have a consistent way of using their voice. It may not always sound the same. There can be a lot of miscommunication that happens when someone has that undefined center because they feel the pressure or the need to speak when it's actually not time to do so. Now remember, when you have an undefined or open center, you're going to amplify those who have definition around you. So there can be a pressure to speak when it's not time to speak. All centers that are undefined or open have an aligned expression and an unaligned expression. The aligned expression, the wisdom of the throat center, is being able to listen, to be receptive, and speaking only when there's truly something to say. The unaligned expression is going to be speaking to try to get attention or feeling a pressure to speak when what needs to come out is not quite ready. And before I move on to talking about how this might show up in business, career, relationship with money, I want to clear up one misconception that I think it gets a little bit confusing, because they talk a lot about the throat center being about timing, and it is about timing. However, it's not an authority. The timing piece of it is more to do with the definition. So when you have definition, you have a natural sense of timing. And this is because when you listen to your strategy and authority, no matter what type you are, if you have that throat definition, there's reliability in the expression coming through more often than not exactly the way that you intended. There'll be a consistent way that you express, which matches the timing of your strategy and authority. So in some ways, I think you might even call it more clarity with timing than just timing itself. And now that we've got that cleared up, I'd like to hear from you. Do you have a defined or undefined throat center? And what's your experience with timing and clarity? Drop it in the comments below. Part 2, manifestation, career, and money. The mechanics of human design and these centers become much more tangible and clear when we can relate them to everyday life scenarios, especially when we can relate them to business, career, and your relationship with money. So let's walk through some examples for each of these topics of the aligned and the unaligned expression of the undefined throat center. In your career, this might look like sitting in a meeting and being able to sit and listen, not feeling the pressure to speak just to be heard or to contribute something, but waiting until you feel that strategy and authority saying it is time to speak, and then trusting that whatever comes through, because oftentimes when you're undefined, you don't know exactly how it's going to come across, but trusting that it is time and it will come through in the correct way. The unaligned expression in this same meeting might look like feeling the pressure to speak up, to just to be a part of the conversation, to attract attention, or the pressure of amplifying all the voices around you to speak and say something. This often comes through as saying something in a way you didn't intend, or your message just not being clear at all, and then feeling inadequate, stupid, or judged. For an entrepreneur, when it comes to marketing, your brand is all about your voice. However, when you have an undefined throat, consistency can be difficult. The unaligned expression may be feeling the pressure from amplification of those around you to prematurely post or launch or market, which leads to inconsistent messaging because you are chasing visibility versus trusting your own timing. The aligned expression is trusting that it doesn't have to sound the same every time. Instead of forcing consistency, you allow your communication to naturally adapt according to your strategy and authority. It also may mean that you resist the urge to vocalize, market, communicate simply because everyone else around you is, allowing you to sit back and wait for your own timing, trusting that what you communicate is going to be authentic and uniquely yours. And for the relationship with money, the unaligned expression may look like prematurely talking about your financial vision, plans, and goals simply because you want to contribute to the conversation or everyone else is talking about it. The aligned expression is being able to sit back, wait, and feel when it's actually time to talk about your vision and you can communicate it clearly. Beyond the examples of everyday life and relationships with business, career, and money, I think it's important to talk about the gates of the throat center. Now, I'm not going to go into each one of them because there are many gates to the throat center. What is important to understand is that each gate has a voice. So when you look at your chart, look to see, even if you don't have definition, if you have a red or a black line indicating that you have access to that gate coming from the throat center. Now, what do I mean by voice? There are specific words that are going to resonate as a frequency better when you use those words because you have that gate. When you have definition, transit, or around somebody who has that throat definition, those words are going to make a greater impression. So for example, I have gate 23, which says I know. When I use the words I know, they come across with a different frequency to the people listening to me saying those words. Another example is gate 56. I believe. Oftentimes when I'm telling a story, I believe will come up as words that I use. Gate 62 is I think. Gate 45 is I have or have not. So that's the other important piece of this. It is I know or I do not know. I have, I don't have. I believe, I don't believe. I think, I don't think. There's a binary to each of these frequencies. So look at your throat center and any gate activations you might have. This chart right here is going to show you what the words are for each one of these gate activations. I encourage you to learn these for your particular gate. Use them and also notice yourself. Do you find yourself already using those words? And if this kind of information grabs your attention and you want to dive deeper into the practical application of human design for health, career, and life, join us at the Frequency Collective, a membership program that Amanda and I have created for people just like you. You can check out the link in the description below. Part 3, Practical Application. So now we know the mechanics of the throat center, but what do we actually do if we don't have the definition, and how do we walk in that aligned frequency of it? As I said in the last video, and I will say in this and every video, this is my favorite part: tuning in, de-stressing, and getting aligned for clarity. The first step is to look at your chart to see if your throat is defined or undefined. The second step is to pull up the questions of the undefined throat center. Now, if you have throat definition, keep listening, because understanding the questions of those who don't have throat definition helps you understand at an even deeper level the mechanics of the throat center and the experiences of those who may be amplifying you around you. And this is part 2 of a 5-part series where we are walking through the mechanics and the practical application of each center. The questions to ask yourself and sit with. And when I say sit with, I mean notice, do you feel a resonance with that question? The first question, am I talking even though I'm unsure of my words? Am I talking or expressing simply to try and attract attention? Am I talking or expressing simply to try and make something happen? Once you have your question, we move to step 3, somatic integration. So you sit comfortably, and I'm going to show you exactly what I do for myself and with my clients. I close my eyes, and I ask my question. Am I trying to talk simply to attract attention? Where do I feel that? And I notice that in my body, right in my ribs. And breathe into it, in through the nose. Surrendering to the feeling, long, slow exhale through the mouth. Giving my body permission to release. So when you breathe in, allow the sensations to exist. Let them grow as big as they need to. And on the breath out, give your body permission to release. Ask yourself, can I let this go? Doesn't have to be forever. In this moment, can I let this go? Feel it moving throughout your body. Notice any sensations and continue to breathe. Laughing, coughing, yawning, sneezing, crying. These are all emotional release. The body knows what to do better than the mind, so just let go and let it out. And when we can come to that place of release, of letting go, of relaxation, we can better hear our strategy and authority helping us move forward, feeling that timing of when it is time to speak and express, and trust that even though it may not be consistent, what comes out is authentic and clear. The goal in understanding the throat center isn't to change the way that you communicate, but to better understand your natural expression and removing the conditioning so that you can feel your strategy and authority for the correct timing to allow your authentic expression to come through. Now you've made it all the way to the end of this video, so drop a mic emoji to let me know that you're here. And please like, comment, subscribe, and share with anyone and everyone you know in their human design experiment. And if you want to dive deeper into the practical application, please check out the Frequency Collective in the description below. And for part 1, the pressure centers, you can click here. As always, thanks for watching. Can't wait to see you in the next one.